Hey everyone, I hope that first video was helpful for you on the instructions. In this video, I'm just going to be reading through the directions and the questions and option choices if you'd like. So let's get started. Animals, including us, need energy to grow and thrive. We get that energy from eating food. Plants need energy too in order to grow and reproduce. But plants make their own food through a process called photosynthesis. The word photosynthesis contains clues to its meaning. The prefix photo comes from a Greek word meaning light. The root synthesis comes from another Greek word meaning to put together. Through photosynthesis, plants use the energy of light to put a meal together using water and carbon dioxide. To absorb light, the plants use chlorophyll, the pigment that makes leaves green. The diagrams in this lesson show how photosynthesis works. And so then it has that diagram here. And if you look at that diagram, you can see that there's the sun and the light rays from the sun are going to the leaves, and chlorophyll is that pigment that absorbs the sun's energy. Carbon dioxide, which is in the atmosphere around us, also goes into the leaves through these small holes called stomata. They're like little pores. You don't have to worry about those. And then the water from like rain or other natural occurrences goes to the ground, and those go to the roots of a plant, and that helps the plants grow. So let's look at the question. Plants need water, carbon dioxide, and light for photosynthesis. According to the diagram, how does the plant absorb water for photosynthesis? Well, I kind of put the answer there. It's through the roots. I know that because I looked at this image. So I'm going to move on to the next part. Okay. Again, the next part is the same reading, only this time the question is, according to the diagram, how does the plant absorb carbon dioxide? So how does it get carbon dioxide? Is it through the chlorophyll, that pigment? Is it through the leaves? Is it through the roots, right? Or is it through the sun? And you're going to click whichever answer you think is right and then submit it, and then you can go on to the next part. Okay. Okay, we're back. And so the next question, it's the same reading, but the question is different. So it says, according to the diagram, where does the plant get the energy that powers photosynthesis? Is it from chlorophyll? Is it from sunlight? Is it from carbon dioxide? Or is it from water? Again, choose the right answer and then submit it. The reading is the same. Okay, and then the question is, according to the diagram, what absorbs the light energy for photosynthesis? Chlorophyll, roots, sun, or carbon dioxide? Select the right answer, click submit, hopefully it's right, and then click next. Okay, and so now this is a different image, and the reading here is a little bit different, so let's read that together. Photosynthesis is the process through which plants make their own food. The food plants make is a carbohydrate or sugar called glucose. In the process of photosynthesis, plants also release a gas we all need, oxygen. Here's a diagram that shows the ingredients plants use and the products plants produce in the process of photosynthesis. So the image shows ingredients on the left, so it's moving from left to right. So the ingredients that we need so that we can make that glucose, that sugar, or so that plants can, because we're not a plant, we need water, which is H2O, and we need carbon dioxide, which is CO2. Okay, then we have to add energy. We need the sun's energy, and we have to have that green pigment in plants, chlorophyll, because that absorbs the sun's energy. So for photosynthesis to occur, we need water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight. Okay, what things get made or get produced at the end? We get this complex sugar called glucose, and we get oxygen or O2, which gets released into the atmosphere, which is a good thing. Okay. Glucose is a sugar. It's a little bit different than table sugar, but it is a sugar. And so if you are scared of the word carbohydrate, I don't want you to be scared. We're going to talk about that a little bit more next week when we look at macromolecules, but you can just call it sugar. Okay. So here's the question. Look at the diagram, which we did. What are the ingredients of photosynthesis? So what do we need for photosynthesis to occur? Do we need water and chlorophyll? Do we need water and oxygen? Do we need water and carbon dioxide? Do we need glucose and oxygen? Pick which answer you think is correct and then click submit. Okay. Again, same reading we just read, same image. The question is different. What are the products of photosynthesis? Is it glucose and chlorophyll, oxygen and water, water and carbon dioxide, or glucose and oxygen? When we say products, we're saying about what gets made, right? What's the end product of photosynthesis? What is it making? So choose which one of these you think is correct, submit your answer, and then next. So now that you've seen how photosynthesis works, can you sum it up in one sentence? And this is actually the main purpose of this week, is really learning about what photosynthesis is. So which of the sentences below describes the process of photosynthesis? In photosynthesis, plants absorb water through their roots. In photosynthesis, plants make chlorophyll, the pigment in the leaves. In photosynthesis, plants use the light energy to transform water and carbon dioxide into glucose and oxygen. Through photosynthesis, plants take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen through their leaves. Now, I will tell you, there are multiple correct answers here, or true statements, I should say. But remember, it's asking about like describing the process of photosynthesis. So what kind of sums up that photosynthesis process or goals in one sentence? Choose which response you think is correct, submit your answer. Let's look at the next question. All right, so let's take another, so the directions have changed. Let's take another look at the diagram that shows the ingredients and the products involved in photosynthesis. Ingredients over here. We need sunlight to mix those ingredients, so to speak. And then our products are glucose and oxygen. If we were to rewrite this diagram as a chemical formula, we would get this: water plus carbon dioxide, and then there's an arrow with light over it, yields glucose and oxygen. And I was careful not to say equals, and I want to say because we're not saying that they equal, we're saying that it yields or it makes. So it doesn't mean that they're the same, right? Or you can have, and this is really important because this is the chemical formula for photosynthesis, which I want you to know, is 6 molecules of H2O or water plus 6 molecules of CO2 or carbon dioxide with that sunlight yields 1 molecule of C6H12O6, which is glucose, and 6 molecules of O2, which is oxygen gas. Okay, the C's, H's, and O's in this formula are symbols for chemical element like those you'd seen on the periodic table. So C equals carbon, H equals hydrogen, O equals oxygen. So H2O is the chemical formula for water. It shows that water is made up of elements hydrogen and oxygen. And we'll talk about these more next week. I had a lot of people that get stuck on the glucose. Usually the water, CO2, and O2 is fine, but glucose usually trips people up. I remember that it's always in a 1 to 2 to 1 ratio. I don't know if that helps you, but it's always going to be 6, 12, 6. If it were 5, 12, 4 or 5, 12, 6 or something, it would be something completely different. So it has to be those numbers on the bottom, not on the top. Please don't put those numbers on the top. They have to go on the bottom. So the question here says, the chemical formula for carbon dioxide is CO2. Based on what you just read about the chemical elements and their symbols, what elements do you think make up carbon dioxide? So what elements make up carbon dioxide? Is it carbon and hydrogen, hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, or carbon and oxygen? Pick which answer you think is correct, click submit, and let's move on. Again, We have the same writing that we just kind of read through, but the question is different. It says the chemical formula for glucose is C6H12O6. Based on what you know about chemical elements and their symbols, what elements do you think make up glucose? So what elements make up glucose? Is it carbon and hydrogen, hydrogen and oxygen, carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, carbon and oxygen? Pick which one you think is the correct answer, click submit answer, and then let's click next. All right, so the reading and information has changed, so I'm going to read this a little bit more for you. The capital letters in chemical formulas stand for chemical elements. And the subscript number, that number on the bottom, after the element symbol tells you how many atoms of that element there are in that molecule. For instance, one molecule of water, or H2O, is made of 2 hydrogen atoms, like we see there, and 1 oxygen atom. The 2 after the H means there are 2 hydrogen atoms. If there is no number following an element symbol, like the O in H2O, that means there's only 1 atom of that element. So here's a drawing of the molecule H2O. Note we can't see the actual molecules and atoms with the naked eye. 1 droplet of water is made of trillions and trillions of H2O molecules. So keep that in mind. All right, so the question says, the chemical formula for carbon dioxide is CO2. Based on what you know about chemical formulas, what we just talked about, which is the correct model for CO2? Is it CO? Is it C with these 2 H's? Is it 2 C's and 1 O? Is it 2 O's and 1 C? So choose the answer you think is correct and click submit answer, and let's click next. All right. Again, it's the same reading that we talked about previously, but the question is different. So the chemical formula for glucose is C6H12O6. Based on what you know about chemical formulas, which is the correct model for C6H12O6, or glucose? And then you're going to choose, I'm not going to go through all of them, but you're going to choose which one you think is showing you about 6 carbons, 12 hydrogens, and 6 oxygens. You got this. Click submit answer and click next. Once you do that, you are complete. You don't have to go to activity 2. I just want you to answer the first 11 questions. I know this video probably felt really long. It's under 15 minutes. It's like 13 minutes right now. So hopefully this was helpful to you. Feel free to type questions in the chat.